What an honor to be here today on our 6 weeks to summer challenge. We have such a special guest. Her name is Dr. Chandra Villano. I'm going to actually let her give a little bit of her background here in just a moment. I do want to encourage you to grab a notepad and a pen so you can take notes. She is a wealth of knowledge. She has added so much value to all of our lives. Her subject today is on healthy sleep habits. And for me personally, I will tell you that it is something that I struggled with for years. I could stay asleep, but I could not, I could fall asleep. I could not stay asleep. And knowing firsthand what it feels like to not get that quality rest, to get into that deep restorative sleep that really repairs your body and gets you up and moving and productive during the day. So I am excited to be taking notes on this call, just like all of you. Go ahead though, give your full undivided attention to Dr. Chandra Villano. Doctor, come on in and give us a little bit on your background and get us kicked off.
Awesome. You got it. Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy May. I thank all of you for being here, and I think your future selves will thank you also. But kudos and shout out to Danny for putting this together, because it's an honor to be here with these health and wellness professionals that are the driving force of getting us ready for a healthy summer. So we can all use it across the globe. So welcome. Thanks for being here. I am a naturopathic physician. I'm talking to you today from East Wenatchee, Washington, in North Central Washington State. I've been practicing for 16 years and have a lot of specialty in working with hormone dysregulation, weight loss, adrenal cortisol issues. And like Danny touched on, I myself, for years after med school, had really severe sleep dysregulation and problems. So this is a subject that I'm passionate about, and glad to give you guys some tips that when you get done here, these are things you can be in control of. And right now in the world, there are so many things that we don't feel. So I hope you can leave with a sense of empowerment and some things you can actually, put to use today and tonight. So to begin, the reminder is, when we are trying to, collectively support each other, lift each other up, that if you are in the Facebook group, that's a place where we can interact and give comment, ask questions during the week. So if you're not a member, go ahead and join us there. It's 6 weeks to summer challenge. If you search in your Facebook bar and join that, and then I will just get underway here. So I thank you for being here. And I just want to overview that I'm going to go just a little bit through what the problem is and why this is so important, and then really get into what we call sleep hygiene, which is having habits that you literally dial in to become part of your lifestyle. Whoops, sorry, going the wrong way here. And that is that there's this concept in the brain and the cells that are in the brain that we develop a sleep debt. And it doesn't mean just, partying one weekend and, having a couple nights short of sleep. This is really something for most people that adds up, and it's literally over years, and for many over decades of time. And what happens is we kind of think about it sort of like credit card debt, that with the compounding interest, the longer the sleep issues go, it does get a longer period of time. So you can't just have one nice, good, restful night and make up for months or years or, decades of sleep. So it is something to really be part of a whole wellness lifestyle. And as we're preparing this summer challenge, it's a place that can add so much benefit to what we're doing for wellness. So I apologize. I'm going to go the right way with the slides. So just as a note, why this is so important is that if you are deprived of sleep, is that it can increase stress on your adrenal glands, which affect your cortisol levels, hormones that talk to our whole body. It can decrease your ability to tolerate stress, which in the world today, I think is really important that we don't have lowered stress tolerance. If you have pain, it can amplify pain and make it worse. If you aren't in pain, it can actually add to having aches and discomfort in your body, because sleep deprivation can run inflammation, which is a problem. It can make you more tired. You can have difficulty with cognition, and that may be with focus, with concentration, with attention, with making decisions. even just being, absent-minded. Sometimes we walk into a room and we don't realize our stress is adding on us because we're looking around thinking, why did I walk in here? I can't even remember, from a minute ago when I was going to walk in here. So even things like that, and, problems with energy and memory. So also there are hormone ramifications of being short on sleep. And one of those is that the hormone that helps us feel like we are full can go down, and the hormone that helps us to be driven to eat can go up. And that can be a 1-2 punch that is really problematic, especially if you're trying to work on your metabolic health and work on weight. And so we know that in studies, we have information that links lack of sleep to obesity. And part of it is that hormone dysregulation I just mentioned. That can also be metabolic problems with insulin, stabilizing blood sugar and diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, and even how long we live can be related. So we want to do things that are going to support and be as encouraging as possible to get good sleep. So I just want to make a nod that in our 24/7 culture, where we can be on the internet all the time, we can be working day and night, is that sleep in our, success-driven, I'll speak for the United States, is that many times people are like, oh, why sleep? Why spend, waste your time in the bed when we can be productive? But sleep is actually a very active process. It is not passive. We're not just passed out. There's a lot going on. So during deep sleep is a time when we're having restoration, repair, regeneration, and that literally from the cellular level, the tissue, our fascia, joints, bones, muscle tissue, hair, skin, all of that has things that need to happen during the night that can't go on during the day when we're using our bodies for other things. And there is also something called REM sleep, where our brain is processing memories, where neurons in the brain are being repaired. So really important from a whole body standpoint. So tied in with that repair is that we have something called our circadian clock, which we think about as our sleep-wake cycle or our night-day cycle. And that is literally helping to regulate all these different body functions. And there are communication molecules, there are hormones, there are neurotransmitters that are part of all of this connection. And so what's recommended to help this sleep-wake cycle is for the average person, at least for adults, for children it's more, is to get 7, 8, or even up to 9 hours of sleep per night. And some people might laugh out loud at that because they may not get anywhere near that. But that's the optimal goal to begin to work towards. So I want to transition into this section. And if you are taking notes, I really like to teach in concepts, and I think it's great to make notes that work for you, because you may have some things you're like, yep, I got that, good on that. But if you hear something that I mentioned that you're like, oh yeah, that's one I could be doing better in that realm, is make a little note for yourself, red flag that, because changes happen in the body, and the way that our brain works is it really takes some time to get new nerve or neural pathways and to get a habit dialed in to where you really own it. So it takes many times around 21 to 28 days. So these are things that in those notes, keep these as little tidbits that you can work on, because even little changes, something small that you then repeat and make it a habit, it becomes something that then it's part of your life that you do, like, many other things. So we're going to talk about sleep hygiene, which are habits that are really good for sleep to dial in, and then eliminating some things that disrupt sleep, and then really promoting the things that are going to help us to sleep better. So one of the first things is to eliminate if you are not consistently keeping your bedtime and your routine. And part of that sleep-wake cycle, that circadian rhythm, is that we are conditionable like Pavlov's dogs. And the more that we have a routine, doesn't mean that on the dot every day you have to be at the same time, but around the general time you go to sleep and wake up. On the weekends, it's recommended not to be maybe more than an hour or so off of that routine to really keep patterning in to sleep well. So we want to condition ourselves. And as part of that conditioning, it's giving your nervous system information to say, oh yeah, this is that thing we do. And so habits that might be for you might be when you're putting on your pajamas. I think it's a really nice idea in your bathrooms and your bedrooms to have dimmer switches. You can dim the lights, maybe play quiet music. You may have things that you do while you're brushing your teeth. Maybe you take a warm bath. Magnesium and Epsom salts can help your muscles to relax. But if those are things that you're doing on a regular basis, it's giving your nervous system information to say, oh yes, we know this, we've done this before. And that conditioning can be really valuable. In addition, we want to eliminate or at least minimize as much as possible stress. And that can be really acute and it can be chronic. And right now, most of us are under many types of situations we've never dealt with before in the world. And so we've all kind of got some of that going on. So really important to help get the body ready for good sleep is having outlets that you do. The key is on a regular basis. Going for a massage once a month isn't really going to help every night falling asleep well and staying asleep well. It needs to be something that's done regular. So find something that feeds you, nourishes your soul, gets a bit of a breakout of an outlet that can de-stress or deactivate reactions to stress for you. One of the number one things you can do in the moment and as you're trying to fall asleep is what's called diaphragmatic breathing. And it basically means taking full, slow, deep belly breaths. And if you get in bed, get comfortable, put your hand on your belly. And as you breathe in, you want to breathe all the way down through your lungs so that you kind of feel your belly rise. The muscle called your diaphragm lowers a bit and you'll feel your belly rise. And as you exhale, you should feel your belly lower. And you can even use your abdominal muscles a little bit to pull your belly in as you empty fully. And many times people under stress feel like they're short and hyperventilating a little bit and can't get breath in. The problem really is we're not getting breath out. So making sure to breathe in fully breathe out, then your lungs are ready to take another full deep breath in. And sometimes that just in of itself, in the moment when you're feeling stressed and as you're trying to fall asleep, getting good oxygen to the body is really going to help the muscles to relax better, even if your mind is still active. And then if you are working with the mind, there are relaxation techniques called affirmations. And one that I have personally used myself for years is, I fall asleep with ease, waking refreshed. I fall asleep with ease, waking refreshed. I fall asleep with ease, waking refreshed. And if you have a mantra or this type of affirmation that works for you, while you're slowly breathing, it's again another way to condition your body that I'm not going to let my mind run crazy. I'm going to try to focus on my breath and focus on my words. Meditation, gentle yoga, stretching are all part of countering stress, and they can be part of getting your body into this idea of sleep hygiene and getting ready for bed. Another thing that is good to eliminate is if you get the sensation that you've got to push through, that you've got some tiredness or fatigue coming on, many times that is your body naturally saying, wow, I am ready for bed. And sometimes people go, oh, it's too early, I can't go to bed. Well, for you, it might be time today. But depending on your sleep debt, you may need a little bit extra more. So it is encouraged, if you are getting that natural wave of fatigue to go to sleep, that you kind of listen to that. And it is recommended that if you take naps, they do need to be part of your conditioning routine. So if you can avoid them and instead try to take that sleepiness to when you go to bed, it's thought to be better. If you do have naps, try and make them part of your regular schedule. If they're all over the place, it may be disruptive then when you do try to go to sleep that evening. Next is to keep the room where you're going to sleep kind of sacred for that sleep activity. So it is encouraged not to read or watch TV, especially news or, active drama types of movies, to eat, to worry in the bedroom. If you keep it more as a place where this is where I have sleep, this is where I relax, this is where I have intimacy, the energy and that vibe of the room is different than when it's a place where all kinds of other high energy activity is going on. So it is good to try to have the bedroom to not be a place where you're discussing taxes, or you're, solving problems, or, bringing things from the day that you need to worry about that could be, left outside on the kitchen counter, kind of, symbolically, and come back to those in the morning when you wake up. So if you are a reader and reading with, a light by the bed is something that is part of your routine, that can be okay, but maybe be careful about what your, what your reading material is, but keeping that as a place that, really is for sleep and relaxation. Next, once you're in that room, is the quality of what you're going to sleep on. So your pillow and your mattress can have huge effect as to how your body, your spine, your joints are supported during the evening. So you may need to evaluate how supportive is your mattress for you. We all kind of have different preferences, and based on our body, surgeries, injuries, aches and pains, will determine what's best for you. Many times I think working with a chiropractor that can look at your joints and your spine may also help to give you input about what kind of pillow might be good for you and mattress, but is definitely a place that can make a difference. And then the temperature in the room, if it's too warm, your body cycles through all of those different processes that we're doing for repair. It is using energy, and it can warm up a bit. And it's best if your body is not getting extra warmth from the room. So one of the things that 100 years ago or so, Dr. John Bastyr, who started the college where I graduated from, one of his most beginning treatment plans for patients was crack the window, sleep with fresh air, regardless of the time of year, even in the winter. Put some extra, blankets on the bed, but having the room a little cooler is going to be more beneficial for how your body isn't going to fret as much and get sweaty or hot through the night, which can be disruptive then. If your room is really dry, that's something also that if you need a little bit of moisture for your nasal passages to breathe well in the room, that can be beneficial. And then other aspects in the room that can really be, especially if someone is sensitive, can be disruptive. That can be light that's in the room, and also what we call EMFs, which are electromagnetic frequencies. And we're learning more about those in science. But one of the things that helps with the hormone regulation is if we have the room dark, and if once we wake up, we are getting our eyeballs exposed to light. So if you can, even if you're not going outside, open the blinds, let light come in. If you can sit with your face next to the window to have your tea or coffee, that can be good if you're not outside and getting, natural light into your eyeballs. But getting that light right away helps with the hormone balance and reinforcing that for the day. When you're going to sleep, 2 or 3 hours before, if you spend time on, phones or media, tablets, readers that are giving electromagnetic frequency or blue light into your eyeballs, it's giving a certain register to the brain that is very stimulating. And for many, that can be disruptive to falling or staying asleep. So if you can, even though I know right now, if people are binging on Netflix and it's a common thing to watch TV before bed, if you can, keeping that a little earlier from your sleep hygiene time will be beneficial. And then if the room is as dark as it can be, some people are comfortable, wearing an eye mask. If there is light that's coming in the sides of your blind, there are blackout blinds you can use. I've had, sometimes just as a treatment plan, had patients have 2 hooks on the top of a window, and they actually hang an extra blanket over the window so that, street lights aren't coming in, or from the neighbor's, garage light that stays on overnight. So sometimes even that, keeping the bedroom as dark as possible, will be helpful to your brain and the signals it's getting through your eyeballs. And then if you have sources of electromagnetic frequency in your room, and that can literally be a teeny little LED light on your alarm clock, because once your eyes adjust in the night to the darkness of the room, many times if you're putting your hand in front of one of those lights on an alarm clock, you can literally almost create a shadow. They're that potent, and they are piercing, and the brain's going to perceive that. So if you have, CD players, alarm clocks, other, computers, electrical equipment in your room, if you can cover those, or even better yet, get those out of the room, would be beneficial. And despite everyone's dependence on their phone, and many people use them for an alarm or the clock, is trying to not have those in your bed because of the electromagnetic frequency coming for those. There's, concern possibly about that being disruptive. And if you do wake up, you can condition yourself to be looking at the clock. And then that in the brain can set up a fear or concern or even an aggravation that, oh, it's 2 o'clock, I'm up. Oh, it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And we would be better off not to give that information to our brain. So if you do wake up, or if you cover the clock before you go to bed, it's better to not look at it. And then if you do have to have, for safety reasons, a night light or some light in the room, on the spectrum of light, if you use a red light, that's going to be a little less intrusive to the brain. Also, for what's in the room and kind of the energy of it is noise and what else is around as far as clutter. So keeping the room as calm and quiet as possible. Some people are comfortable wearing earplugs to block that out, or others like to create a bit of a gentle buzz in the room with a noise machine or a fan. Again, making sure if those equipment have any lights on them, you may want to, put a piece of tape over that. If you can keep the room with being less clutter, the just energy of that on your nervous system is going to be better to keep the room more calm. And then there's a trend in bedrooms to use really bright, vibrant colors right now in interior design. And what is recommended is keeping the bedroom colors, if possible, a little more cool and soothing colors, less, wild oranges and fiery reds kind of a thing may be really more beneficial for some people. And then how you breathe through the night is really significant in how deeply your body is able to rest. So this is sometimes a negotiating factor with patients, but if you have pets in the bedroom, you may not realize how disruptive they may be. Their, collar may be jingling, they may be, lapping water or, walking across your face. And so if you have to, getting pets out of the bedroom may take some conditioning on their part, but it can be done. Maybe they're just off the bed at the beginning. Maybe they're closer to outside the room. Then maybe they're out in the hall, and they will need some conditioning for it, but sometimes that's helpful. And also people may not realize it sometimes, but the dander from pets may be causing extra allergy or respiratory disruption during the night. And I know people don't like to do that because we love to, cuddle with our furried ones. But if I'm really working with people, I do keep that on the checklist of things that we evaluate, because sometimes we're missing a big area there for allergy. Then what happens before you go to bed is really important based on the energy of your metabolism and what the body's going to be doing. So it's recommended to keep large meals away. That's something you want to eliminate before bed. So if you can, 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed is to stop eating. And one of the things that can be really helpful for is for weight loss or weight maintenance, and also for sleep. Because if you go to bed with a lot of food in your stomach, instead of the body being able to put the energy that it needs to for restoration and repair, it's got to be spending some of that time on what's going on in the digestive system. And it can actually be kind of stimulating and disruptive. And so for many different reasons, it's really good, if you can, to not be eating close to bedtime. Another thing that I work with people on is that one of the, or the main fuel source for the brain is glucose. And that's blood sugar. And during the night, our body is doing repair and our brain is doing repair. And as the brain is utilizing some of that blood sugar and you haven't eaten for a while, some people can drop their blood sugar at night. The body senses that as a stress response. And then what the body does to try and help that is it gives us a squirt of cortisol. That's going to then wake us up. And so if you have those times, kind of Danny mentioned it, and I have definitely had them too, where it's the middle of the night and you're like, I'm up. I'm awake, I'm up, oh my gosh, I'm so up. And you almost feel stimulated. That can be cortisol, and we don't want that happening, especially on a regular basis. So one of the things that can help if your blood sugar is dropping through the night is not having sugary foods before bedtime, because that brings your sugar up. And then as you're sleeping, your insulin and other regulatory mechanisms are going to bring that down, and then your body's going to try and compensate. Also, sometimes I encourage people, even though you don't want those big meals right before bed, there is an amino acid called tryptophan that is in raw pumpkin seeds, or what we know as pepitas. And sometimes I'll just have a patient use 2 tablespoons of those before bed. They give a little bit of good protein, a little bit of good fat, and tryptophan. And where else do we know tryptophan from? It's what everybody jokes about at Thanksgiving, because it also is in turkey. And that's sometimes what can make people feel a little sleepy or drowsy. Overeating does that too. But sometimes just a little bit of using nutrition to support your body before bed can sometimes help if you're falling asleep okay, but not staying asleep okay. Then we want to eliminate inactivity, because really what we want to support is being active. So just the fact that you exercise regularly can help you sleep better. And we know through studies that if you have regular exercise, it can help the amount of time that it takes to when you fall asleep, and it can also increase the amount of deep sleep that you get. And that slow, deep wave sleep I mentioned at the beginning is really where we're getting the full body organ repair. And if you're drinking alcohol in the evening, it really gets known as, people use it as a relaxant or to chill out or de-stress. But what it actually does when it's been studied is during the night, it fragments your sleep and you don't get into the slow sleep. So it might knock you out, but you're not going to get long-term the reparative sleep that you need at night. So if you need to in the evening have other refreshing drinks, have it in a nice glass if you like that ritual and ceremony, but using other herbs, mints, fruits in water can also be really helpful as a nice beverage. And then you're more hydrated and not dehydrated, which can also disrupt sleep. In addition, being really careful in the later parts of the day with stimulants and caffeine. And there are all different types of places that we find those. Many of them are, common that we know as far as teas and coffees and chocolates, sport drinks, but also some medications have caffeine. You may want to check on that for yourself as, detailed checklist. Also pain relievers, decongestants, and many stimulants that are used for weight loss products have extra chemicals that can be really disruptive, in addition to B vitamins. So if you take dietary supplements that have B vitamins, I encourage people to take those in the first half of the day, just because some people may be very stimulated, especially by B12. So if you take evening supplements, you may want to look at the ingredients on that. And then there are also other herbs that are very stimulating, known as guarana or ginseng. So those can be disruptive also. Then if you are smoking, from my heart, I encourage you to look into a cessation program. There are guided imagery, hypnosis. There are many things that can support, but first and secondhand smoke, they contract the lungs, they affect the oxygen getting to the body, and they can be disruptive even if you are not the smoker, but there is smoking going on in your house. And then if you are not falling asleep well, or you wake up and you're not falling back to sleep well, it is best to not habituate or to, consistently fret about not being asleep. So if you haven't fallen asleep for a while, it's recommended that you might want to get up for a little bit. No bright lights, best to not be looking at your phone or being on the computer because of that blue light stimulation of the brain. But if you can, make a couple notes. Sometimes I have this, patient case or something going on in the business that your mind just gnawing on it. And it's like, I actually keep a notebook by my bedstand with a pencil there, not a pen, because I don't want to write on anything else, but I can kind of in the dark just scroll a word if there's something that's on my mind. And sometimes I'll actually hold the energy of thinking, oh, well, I need to remember that when I wake up, because sometimes it's a powerful time as you're falling asleep that thoughts may come to you. Just being able to write down a word or two can help sometimes to just say, okay, I've put it there, I know what that means, and then I'll come back to that in the morning. And then you just don't want to continue to associate this idea of this huge worry and concern about, when you go to bed, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to fall asleep. So try to do some processes that can help you just sort of in a symbolic way. Put it on the bedstand, leave it on the kitchen counter, okay, take it outside of the bed, out of the bedroom. Then working through all of that checklist is really where I encourage people to start, because there are so many points there that can make all the difference there. And then if you still need support, then we can go to other naturopathic support, and that might be using some herbal or decaf teas. And that can be careful that you don't want to have too much fluid before bed, because sometimes waking up to go to the bathroom can be an issue for people. But there are many herbal teas that can be relaxing and soothing to our nervous system. There are also essential oils that can be diffused in the home or in your bedroom that can be calming, relaxing, even kind of sedating. There are many different dietary supplements that are out there that support sleep. But in my mind, all of these things on this checklist that have come up till now are really important to dial that in, because these are things we can be in control of. They're free. We don't have to buy things. We don't have to swallow things. And that's really where that lifestyle piece comes in. And then if you need other factors, because you've really looked at all of those, then you can move forward. There is a great website that I love, have used for over 20 years, healthjourneys.com. There is a national researcher, Belruth Naparstak, and so there are many different guided imageries that can be good for sleep or calm or stress or breathing. And there is something called a weighted blanket, and you can find them in stores and find them online. And there is research about that when your nervous system gets the information, that it is soothed. For some people, having that extra weight, and you can buy different weights of blankets that you can use to give your nervous system information. But for some people, that can be very kind of cocooning and almost womb-like, and help people to relax and fall asleep, especially if you have, feelings of anxiousness in the evening. So to finish up here is just a note that for many Americans, there is a lot of use of prescription meds for sleeping. And in my professional opinion, those should be used as a last resort. There are so many other things we can do to support. And with those, they may knock you out, they may help you sleep, but they can come with tolerance, meaning you depend on them, and they can come with side effects, and they usually don't allow you to get into that slower wave sleep, which is really restorative. So there is a note that, that with increased frequency of sleep med use, it can be associated with a higher mortality rate. So doing all the things we can naturally to support our body, I think, are going to be the most beneficial. If you have people in your household that have sleep prescriptions, it is a very good idea for you not to share those. Do not take other people's prescriptions, and check in with your doctor, because many doctors in national sleep studies, over 60% of physicians don't ask, is a person having problem with sleep? And so if it's something you want to address, make sure you're your own patient advocate, ask out there about it. And then there are two, sleepeducation.com, sleepeducation.com, and sleepfoundation.org. Sleepfoundation.org are sites that have more information about sleep. But that's going to be an overview summary, and I just encourage you to, as we're working on this, health and wellness adventure for summer, that take any of those tidbits that you can, share them with your family. Not all of them are going to apply to you, but those that are doing, put your love and attention on those. And I wish you tonight a very healthy night of sleep. So I think I'm going to turn it back over to Danny for a moment here. Or do you want me to just go over the last couple things for take-home message to take for the week? Is thinking about your own consistency for that bedtime. Other things that you can do within the bedroom that may help for light in the morning, dark in the evening, no heavy food or electronics before bed. And then I think I will let Danny do our close. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Oh, Dr. Chandra Villano, that was absolutely phenomenal. And I took a massive amount of notes. I know that every listener on this line feels so grateful for this. We did record it, and we'll be able to share that recording with people. But you have added so much value and impacting so many people's lives. We love you. We're grateful for you. I love doing business with you, but I also love what we're doing right now, which is just a public service for people to try to help you get healthy, to live your best life, and to be able to pay that forward. So please share this with other people that you think may need it. So with that, make sure you join our Facebook group right now that we have going. This is a 6-week challenge, and you can get in at any time. We'll have the recordings from the previous physicians and different experts that we've had online. We do have another one next week with Miss Audra Nichols. She has been in the health and wellness arena. She is phenomenal as well about giving us food habits, eating clean, being able to take care and nourish our bodies. And so you want to make sure you set a timer on your phone or on your calendar that next week, same time today that we got on together, which will be 12 noon Central. It's 10 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, and of course, 1 a.m. Eastern time. I'm sorry, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So with that, make sure you take good care of yourself. Thank you again, Dr. Villano. You have been such a huge blessing. God bless everyone. Have a great rest of your day and get some good rest. Thank you, Doctor.